Hey YouTube, my name is Andy and this is my Backfire electric board. I've been running this board now for about 50 miles and these are kind of my thoughts about it. The first thing I want to start off with is some sort of a helmet is a good idea. 20 miles an hour is fast enough to hurt yourself. Anything and everything I talk about, I'll have some sort of link in the description down below. So this is the helmet I chose. I like the full face protection just because I don't want to smash my chin and destroy my teeth. The controller is the next part. I haven't had any issues with it. It works reliably. The cord for charging fell apart in my hands and that made me nervous for the rest of the board. But the controller and the board I've had no issues with about them working. So all my other things are just kind of physical issues or secondary problems that can be fixed for later runs. So the first one, I like the color of the grip tape. Some people do, some people don't. Where I've been stepping on it makes it look a little bit darker, more like outer space. I don't mind that. What I don't like is the white wheels immediately turning this ugly color. I would have liked them to have been black or something that won't fade nearly as quickly. So, real quick, that little hole right there, I'll get back to in a second. Just remember that. So, I would have liked to see some different color for the wheels, but it is what it is. That's not my my gripe about the board. That comes with the battery itself. So I purchased two of them so that way I could double my range. Makes sense. Not that hard to flip them out. Unfortunately, and I don't know why the company chose to do this, there are hex bolts that used to be here. And what I ended up doing was switching out the hex bolts for these thumb screws that I found online. So they came in a couple different parts. I spent a little bit of money on them, but it's not much when compared to the rest of the board to make it that much sooner or that much nicer. So with the hex bolts themselves and removing them with an Allen key and replacing them, it took me about 5 to 6 minutes to switch out the board's battery. With these, I can do it now in maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes. So the way that I got these is I bought a brass spacer, the thumb screw itself, and then the newest part that I added was this washer. I did find when I first started to run it, I did quite a bit of running on a sidewalk for a little bit to get to work, and I had a couple of them vibrate out. So I added these later, and so far they've been working very, very nicely. And as you can see, what I did was I cut them down to size, and I Loctited the brass spacer itself onto the bottom so that way it doesn't like come loose when you're trying to unscrew them, because that used to happen. So now instead of having to do a board change, which these batteries for me at full throttle last about 5.8 miles, and the reason I know that is because it's 6 miles to get to work. It's a little annoying, but it is what it is. So basically now all I have to do is just unscrew these, and it takes half the time to switch them out. The reason I said about that hole on the bottom, the very first one that I did, I just kind of started to thread it because I wanted to see what would happen. It poked out the top. So once it poked out the top, I kind of knew the actual depth to cut the rest of them, and it's not the end of the world. So yeah, now instead of being able to do 5.8 miles, I can do the 11 and change because I can't do math. And oh, the other thing that I did do the board that I highly recommend is I bought these new Bones bushings. So the Bones bushings, I'm 240, I'm a heavier guy, so they don't at higher speeds the board doesn't wobble as much, and this cone shape allows for a little bit more flex one direction to the other as you're making a turn. So I think it's made the board a little bit more fun. But that's those are my comments about the Backfire 2. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments down below. Thanks guys. See ya.